Are you ready for the summer? Are you ready for the sunshine? Are you ready for the birds and bees? Wait, bees? I don't want to mess with any bees. Tell you what, let's not go outside this summer. Let's just stay indoors and play video games. Hello everyone, it's me, Aaron, Professor Thorgy, your guide to all things geeky, and welcome to the second episode ever of our brand new series, Geek for Cheap. Now, this is a brand new series that we're doing in which I spotlight sales and discounts going on from the world of geekery that will help you experience that thing that you love for as cheap as possible. Now, as I said, this is the second episode ever, and you guys love that first episode. You guys have been telling me all over Twitter about how much you love the idea behind this series, so thank you guys so much for that support. And in that first episode, I was spotlighting some sales that have to do with comic books, so it's only fair that now we do an episode spotlighting the world of video games. And what better time than right now, because as I speak, the annual Steam summer sale is going on. Now for anybody who doesn't know what Steam is, it's basically the iTunes of video games. It is a program that you can download into your computer in which you can access thousands, hundreds of thousands of video games. I can't even begin to describe how many video games are available on Steam. It is mind-boggling the number of games that you can get through there. And they constantly have sales in which they allow you to buy even brand new games for huge discounts. And I just have to tip my hat to Steam right now. I just gotta take a moment to praise Steam, because when almost every single other company out there in the world of video games is constantly trying to think of ways to screw over their consumers, Steam is that one company out there that's like, no. How can we make games more accessible to people? How can we make it easier for people to play games? How can we make it cheaper? How can we make it so they are not constantly going to lose their data? How can we make easy backups for them? How can we make it so that they can transfer their games from one system to another with ease? It's amazing how much Steam cares about its consumers. I'm sure at this point that someone is going to leave comments in the comment section below going, well, I had a bad experience with them. I'm very sorry about that. For everyone else, it's amazing. But enough of me just sucking up to Steam. The annual Steam summer sale is going on right now, and they have over 1,000 games with massive discounts that you can buy right now. And before I get into my personal picks for you guys, I'm going to leave a link right here to Total Biscuit's video. Now, for anybody who doesn't know, Total Biscuit is a YouTuber who covers video games, and he is immensely more famous than I ever will be, so I don't need to explain to you guys who he is. You all probably already know, but he made a video in which he laid out his personal 20 picks for the Steam summer sale, and he has some great recommendations in there. So I'm not going to cover any of the games that he covered in there. You can go ahead and click on his video and it'll take you right to it. And most of the games that he covered are fairly new games. Fairly big release games that have massive discounts on them at the moment. He's got some great recommendations in there. Go ahead and check out that video. My video is going to cover some cheaper games that you can check out. As I said, this is Geek for Cheap. This is where you can check out great stuff for really small prices. But I'm also going to check out some lesser known games. Some ones that came out years ago and have been forgotten to the sands of time. But I'm going to remind you about them in this video because, man, they're good. And also I'm just going to bring up some personal favorites of mine that happen to be on sale right now. So after you watch that video, if you want to check out some even cheaper and more obscure stuff, continue this one. Here we go. Now, as I said, I'm going to cover some more obscure games, some lesser known games, some ones that a lot of new gamers might out there not know about. However, before I get into those, I do have to cover some big major games that you guys might have missed. If you are a new gamer, these are probably games that you have heard about and you're like, oh, I want to check that out, but I don't have the cash for it. A lot of these games are on sale at the moment, and this is the best time to check them out. So the first 4 games I'm going to talk about are the big major, you might want to check this out sometime in your lifetime kind of video games. First one, Bioshock. The original Bioshock, it's an amazing game. I was never into first-person shooters. They just were not my type of game. Did I say shoopers? I was never into first-person shoopers, but they were never my type of game. I just never really thought that they had great stories. I was never that big into the gaming mechanics of them. Bioshock is the game that came in and shut my mouth up forever. I will never question a first-person shooter again. This game was stunning. The environment of it is breathtaking. The story of it has so many twists and turns. It's one of the best ones I've ever experienced in a video game. And if you want to check it out, it is currently 80% off for only $3.99. Next up, speaking of first-person shooters that I was not expecting to love but ended up falling head over heels for, both Left 4 Dead 1 and 2 are both on sale, again, 80% off for only $3.99. These are games that are incredibly fun to play at parties, they're incredibly fun to play with a group of friends, or just go online with a group of strangers. It is a game about you just trying to get from one point to another through a maze of zombies, and I know that sounds incredibly basic, but they find a way to make that gameplay so fun and the zombies so crazy and give the characters such personality that it does become an exceptional experience. And as I said, I went into this not expecting a whole lot and received so much from them. So if you have been looking at these games for the longest time, like, yeah, I don't know, maybe I'll check that out one day, this is that day. This is the best chance that you will ever get to experience Left 4 Dead. Next up, Half-Life 2. Oh my gosh, do I even need to tell you about this game? This is one of those legendary games that people speak and praise so highly. Many people have called it one of the greatest video games of all time. As I said, these first couple of recommendations are for a lot of new gamers who might not have gotten to experience some of these games before. If you are new to video games and you have always heard about how amazing Half-Life 2 is, at the moment, again, 80% off, $1.99, $2 for something that people call one of the greatest video games of all time. And lastly, if you've been watching this channel, you know I'm pretty excited for Injustice 2, and I'm pretty excited for Injustice 2 because Injustice 1 was so much fun. I ended up enjoying that game so much more than I expected I would. I thought the fighting mechanics in it were so good. The story mode was actually pretty solid, and there was tons of DLC. They did not stop throwing out their brand new characters for you to play as, and right now, not only Injustice, but all the DLC characters are available for 75% off, only $5. Just buying all the DLC characters on their own would be more than $5. Just buying like 2 of them would have been more than $5. So even if you own Injustice, but you never bought any of the DLC characters, it's worth buying it again just to get them all for only $5. Okay, those are my recommendations for those greatest game of all time. If you've never played it, this is your chance to play it type of games. And Injustice, simply because I like Injustice. These next 7 games are going to be indie games. These are going to be games that if you only played the big releases, you might not have heard of them, but for anybody who is into indie gaming, these are some of the most beloved and praised indie games out there. And again, they are at huge discounts at the moment. Now my first recommendation is Bastion. This game is stunning. It is one of the most gorgeous games to look at as you run around. The world constructs itself around you, and it is just amazing to watch that happen. It's also got one of the best narrators in any video game. He comments on everything that you're doing. Sometimes I would just do stuff to see if he would talk about it. But this is one of those games that everybody praises, and if you want to check it out, it currently is 75% off at only $3.74. That is insane for this game. Next up is Brothers, and this is a very interesting game because you're controlling 2 brothers and there's like no dialogue in this. You kind of just learn about the story as you go along, and it's kind of a puzzle solving game, but it does have a very deep emotional story behind it as you start to develop it, and it is one of those games that is all about that. It's all about these brothers, it's all about the story, and it is all about, you know, just trying to figure out how to get from point A to point B. And it's a very engaging game. If you like any of those games like Ico, in which it's not really about the combat, but just more about the journey, then Brothers is a great game to check out, and it's currently 90% off at $1.49. Next up, Undertale. I do not have to tell you guys about Undertale. It's one of those games that just overtook the internet. People are obsessed with this game, and for good reasons. It's one of those games that has developed a passion in people that I have not seen in years. And if you've been waiting for a chance to check it out, now's your time. And I'll go ahead and admit to you guys, when this game came out, everybody was like, you gotta play this, you gotta play this. I got recommendations, I got requests from people online, please play and review this. I didn't buy the game because I looked at it and went, $9.99, that is really cheap. However, I know how Steam works. There's gonna be a sale on any minute now. Any minute. And I waited, and I waited, and I waited. And maybe it went on sale when I wasn't looking, but every time that I checked, I was like, full price, gonna wait for that sale. It's finally on sale, and it's only 30% off, which is the smallest discount of anything on this list I have for you guys today. However, that still brings it down to $6.99, which is still an amazing deal for a game that everybody has been talking about and loving so much. So if you're like me and you were just sitting back going, I'm going to wait till this goes on sale, this is probably the best sale that you're going to get on it. So make sure that you jump on it right now. For these next two games, even though they both play very differently, I'm going to lump them together because they're both by Behemoth Studios. And Behemoth Studios is the big selling point of any game made by Behemoth Studios. That is a company that knows how to create games with amazing senses of humor. I have never laughed out loud at a game like I have at a Behemoth game. These games are Castle Crashers and Battleblock Theaters, both of which are 80% off and $2.99. They are incredibly fun games to play. However, as I said, it's the sense of humor that makes these games worth buying. In fact, Battleblock Theater has one of the greatest openings to any video game I have ever played. I am not exaggerating that. It's one of my favorite of all time. Just play 5 seconds of that opening to Battleblock Theater right now. Check this out.
But the eye of the storm is very misleading, children. Never turn your back on it because the ocean was all like, psych! And it came back even bigger this time, twice as big. As if Poseidon himself extended his hand in friendship and they spat in his mouth. Boy, he was pissed. He was mad.
That opening alone should convince you to buy this game. I would pay $2.99 just to watch that opening, just to listen to the narrator of that game again, because it is so damn funny. Next up, Don't Starve. The concept behind this game is pretty simple. It's right there in the title. It is a resources management game in which you are basically trying to see how long you can survive when the monsters come out at night, and how long you can keep yourself from starving, how long you can put the elements at bay and fight them back, and it's got an amazing art style. It's basically what if Tim Burton had decided to make video games rather than movies and never went insane. In fact, the art style of this game, again, that might be the biggest selling point of it because it just looks so amazing. But this is one of those games that has developed a huge fan base. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen people come into my store wearing Don't Starve t-shirts, and it's not like those are mass produced. Those are all fan-made shirts, but people want them. Why? Because they love this game. So if this is one of those games that you've always kind of heard about, maybe one of your friends is into, go ahead and check it out because it's 75% off at only $3.74. But what if you want something a little bit more challenging, something a little bit more punishing, something a little bit more difficult that will have you pulling your hair out but still wanting to play more of it? Super Meat Boy. Super Meat Boy, I'll be honest with you, I don't know if I would totally classify this as a platformer, as a racer, I don't know what you would call it, but it is a game in which you have to run from one point to another through all these obstacles, and it is one of the most difficult games out there, but it's a rewardingly difficult game. It's not one of those games in which you go, this is stupid, and just throw your controller down. No, there's ways to get through it. There are ways to win this game, and when you figure that out, and when you're able to get the timing just right, it is so rewarding. It makes you feel so good. So, again, if you have never checked that out, it's only $1.49 right now. So even if you're one of those people who's like, oh, I've heard that it's good, but I heard it's really hard, and I don't know if I want to spend money on a game that's going to be that hard and I'm never going to be able to complete. $1.49. $1.49 is not bad. Okay, those are all the big indie games I want to talk about, but there's going to be a couple more throughout this list. However, from here on out, I'm going to be grouping all these games into categories. And the first two games I'm going to group into the category of turn-based strategy games. Again, this is a genre that I was never that big into, but both these games got me hooked on them. I got so addicted to both of these games. First one is XCom. Now, XCom is 75% off at $7.49. And basically, you're military guys, you're going out there, you're having to fight off aliens, and then you got money from that, and then you have to go and build your base, and then you have to go and respond to threats all around the world. And this is turn-based strategy, but also resources management, because not only do you go out there and you have to fight the aliens, and then you have to figure out, okay, where do I stand so that the alien can't hit me, but I can hit them, and each of the aliens have different abilities, but each of the guys on your team have different abilities, so there is a lot of strategy that goes into it. However, when you get the money from saving people from the aliens, you then have to figure out, okay, how do I build the base so that I can make bigger weapons? How can I improve on the ship so that we can get there faster? How do I go and respond to these threats when there's threats in 3 different countries at once, and each of the countries are like, hey, if you help us out, we'll give you money, but if you don't help us out, then we're never talking to you again. What do I do? This is a game that really does know how to challenge you on every level. But again, just like Super Meat Boy, it is so rewarding. When I finally beat that game, after having lost so many soldiers, oh my god, there was no feeling quite like it. So as I said, 75% off at $7.49. That is a damn good price for a game that is just this good. Next up is another turn-based strategy game that has a very die-hard fan base. However, pretty much everybody outside of that fan base has no idea what this game is. So I feel like this is the perfect time to introduce new fans to it. Valkyria Chronicles. This is a turn-based strategy game. It's set during wartime. It's kind of like semi-World War I, semi-World War II, except that there were giant super weapons and a dash of anime thrown in there. But it's incredibly fun with really great likable characters. In fact, I will fully admit the main reason I checked this game out in the first place is because I am a huge fan of Skies of Arcadia, and 2 of the characters from that game pop up in this game. And yeah, I was sold. I love that game so much, I will buy anything with those characters in it. And I'm glad that I did, because this actually did turn out to be a really fun game. So if you are looking for a brand new turn-based strategy game, and you have never heard of Valkyria Chronicles, 75% off, $4.99, and it does include all the DLC for it as well. Okay, that's it for the turn-based strategy games. Next genre that I'm going to be covering, horror games. There's 3 games that I just have to geek out about because I am a huge horror game fan. I know it's not for everybody. That's totally cool. Nothing wrong with that. So if you're not into horror games, then just stick around because I am going to be covering more games later. But for now, let's get into some amazing horror games that are on sale. First one, Outlast. Outlast is currently 75% off for only $4.99. And Outlast to me captures what I feel a lot of horror video games have been missing for a long time, which is that sense of helplessness. I feel like too many horror games give you too much power, too much ability to fight back. And to me, most of the horror that comes from horror video games is that feeling of not being able to fight back. It's that feeling of, I have to run, I have to hide, because if I don't, I'm going to get captured and there's nothing that I can do about it. That describes Outlast to a T. That is what the entire gameplay experience of Outlast was. So if you want something that is a more simple horror game, one in which you don't have to learn how to shoot a gun, then Outlast is the game for you. And speaking of horror games in which you don't really fight back and it is more about running around and using your brain power to survive, Amnesia. Amnesia is one of those games that many people have called the scariest video game of all time. So this kind of fits into that first category that I talked about of those games that everybody praises so much you probably should just play it anyways. And again, it is currently on sale. It's 80% off at only $3.99. So if you need your fill of running around a big spooky mansion while stuff chases you that you can't look at, Amnesia has got you covered. But what if I don't want to just run around? What if I do want to use a gun? What if I do want to shoot some monsters? Dead Space. Dead Space, Dead Space, Dead Space. Oh my god, Dead Space. Dead Space is hands down my favorite horror video game franchise of all time. Beats out Resident Evil, beats out Amnesia, beats out all the others. Dead Space is the best video game horror franchise of all time, except for that third one. That third one, it went kind of in the direction of Resident Evil 5. However, Dead Space 1 and Dead Space 2 are amazing games, and both of them are 75% off, only $4.99, or you can get the combo pack, which is both those games together for $8.74. 2 of the best horror video games of all time, less than $4.50 each. $8.74. This might very well be my biggest pick of this sale. But going back to that idea of a game in which you have to use your brain power, a game in which you walk around and you just experience it and you have to think about everything that you have received and solve puzzles that way, I've got 3 games that fit into the point-and-click adventure genre. At least 2 of them do. I really still don't know what the third one quite fits into, so I'm just gonna put it here. But the first 2 games I want to talk about are Day of the Tentacle and Grimm Fandango. These are 2 of the most classic, well-known point-and-click adventure games of all time. And Day of the Tentacle is 40% off at $8.99, which I know still seems like a lot. However, for anybody out there who might not be that big into point-and-click adventures, but you still want to experience something that is this famous, this is probably the best price you're ever gonna find this at. So I highly recommend going ahead and checking that out, partly just to experience it. However, Grimm Fandango, which to me has a lot more humor that kind of fits into my personal preference, that is only $3.74 at the moment. Or, I know I'm mostly talking about the Steam sale, however, the PlayStation Network for any PlayStation Plus members also has their own sale going on at the moment, and Grimm Fandango, as well as many other games that are part of the Steam sale, is currently on sale there, and it's on sale for $1.74 on the PlayStation Network right now. So if you do want to experience one of these classic games, Grimm Fandango, I would say that's more of my personal pick, and it's a lot cheaper. And lastly, as I said, I don't know if I would fully consider this one a point-and-click adventure game, but if I had to pick any genre for it, I guess that would fit into it. It fits a little bit more in line with the Telltale point-and-click adventure games, in which it's more of just choose your expression, choose what you're going to say at this moment kind of a game. However, the game is Life is Strange. This is a game that so many people love. It has developed one of the biggest fan bases outside of Undertale in recent years, and so many people love these characters. They love the story that goes on here. They love watching the relationships develop between everyone. But if you're one of those people out there, it's like, yeah, it's a bunch of different episodes, and each episode is $5 each. I don't have money for that. At the moment, every single one of those episodes is 60% off, so they're only $2 each. Again, if you're one of those people out there who has heard about this game, and you really want to check it out, but you've been a little bit hesitant to spend all that money, this is the best chance you're gonna get. And the last two games I want to talk about, their genres are not anywhere near the same. They are totally different games. However, both these games are some of my favorites of all time. They are games that I played when I was growing up, and to this day, I still think they are stunning. I think that they are an incredibly fun time, and they are pretty much impossible to find anywhere except on Steam at the moment, and both of them are massively discounted. These are the two best discounts and the two best buys out of anything I'm going to talk about here today. First one, Jet Set Radio. If you have never played this game, if you have always heard of it, heard about how much fun it was, but you were not alive during the age of the Dreamcast, it's come back to you. It is back, it's on Steam, this is your chance to play it, and it is $1.24. As I said, when I was a kid playing through this game, I could not get enough of it. I was obsessed with this game. This game had such bright, colorful characters, fun music. The gameplay mechanics were unlike anything I had played before. You were going around town having to spray paint your logo on certain areas in order to claim that area of town while the cops are trying to catch you, but at the same time rival gangs are trying to catch you. It is just a fun adventure that was unlike any game that was out there at the time, and I kept hoping that we would get a sequel, and then we did. It was on the Xbox, which I didn't own at the time. I still kind of regret that. However, again, if you never got a chance to play it, $1.24. That is an amazing deal. But not as good as the next deal I'm about to talk about. As I said, Dead Space might be my pick of this sale. The only reason that I said might is because this one is definitely my pick of this sale. Psychonauts. Psychonauts, if you want to talk about a game that had heart, had imagination, had amazing characters, had fun dialogue and interactions, and just made you want to live in this world, Psychonauts was that game. And the gameplay of it was amazing. However, I keep hearing from people who have played it outside of that initial release that they didn't do that good of a job of transferring that gameplay over, that it's a little bit buggy, that it didn't play quite as well. So people have always been a little bit hesitant to tell people to check out any other installments of it. So I do have to bring that up, that it's not going to be as good if you play it on Steam as it was when it initially came out. However, the thing that made this game work, the thing that makes all Double Fine games work, is the humor, is the characters, is the imagination, it is the worlds that you explore, and all that's intact. Even if the gameplay isn't as good, all that stuff is still there and still as amazing as it was when it first came out. And it is currently 90% off at 99 cents. $1 for one of the most breathtaking and stunning games of its generation. One of those games that blew people away. You've probably heard people talk about this. It's not one of those ones that gets as much praise as some of the other games I have mentioned on this list, but the people who have played it will always remember how imaginative and creative it was when they first picked it up, and now you can pick it up for 99 cents. But okay everyone, that's it. Those are my 20 biggest recommendations for this year's summer Steam sale. Let me know in the comments down below if you have any of your own recommendations, and let me know pretty soon, because this Steam sale, it only lasts until July 4th. Yeah, sorry for making this video so late and giving you guys such short notice on that, but if you've been watching my channel, you know I had like 7 other videos I had to put up this week. I've been kind of swamped, but I still want to make sure that I got a video made about this because this is the best time of year for gamers. This is that moment in which you get to go and experience all those amazing games that you might have missed out on for huge savings. So, if you have your own recommendations that you want to tell people about, or if you're looking for further recommendations, then head down into that comment section. Also, if you check out any of these games, let me know what you think. Let me know if you like them. But for now, thank you guys for watching this video. If you want to see some more of these Geek for Cheap videos, or just other videos that are opinion pieces, top 10s, reviews, anything like that about anything from the world of geekery, whether it be comic books, video games, or movies, then make sure you hit that subscribe button, and you can check out some other videos from me at the end of this. Thank you guys very much. Come back next time. Whew, that was a lot to say.